You take great photos and you want the world to see them. Well, if you're like a lot of photographers, you have a blog, and that blog is running on WordPress. In this episode, I'm going to show you how you can use Lightroom Classic CC to supercharge WordPress, and I'm going to give you some SEO tips along the way. So let's get started right now. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Exploring Photography right here on Adorama TV. I'm Mark Wallace, and today I am coming to you from my hotel room. I'm on the road riding around the world on a motorcycle, and it's time for me to update my blog. I want people to read my stories and see my images, and that's probably what you want as well. It doesn't matter if you're traveling around the world or if you're a wedding photographer, maybe you're an event shooter. The point is you want to have a place where people can see your work, get to know you, and give you the job. You want people to hire you. And so WordPress is a platform that allows you to create a blog, and it is used by everybody. They claim that 31% of everybody on the internet is using WordPress. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's definitely very popular because it's easy to use and it's almost free. So you have to pay for the hosting, but other than that, it's free software. It's really an incredible deal. Well, if you have a blog, the point is to get people to come and read that blog. So you want it to be integrated. You want to make sure that when you post links that they appear on Facebook with images and they're really nice and easy to read. You want to make sure that happens on Twitter. You want to make sure that it's integrated with Instagram, and you want to make sure that search engines can find you. That's what we're doing in this episode. And so if you're not familiar with WordPress, if it's a new thing to you, zip over to wordpress.com and you can read all about it. But without further ado, we're going to dive into a real live blog using WordPress. I'm going to show you how I've done all of this for myself, and you can do it too. We have a lot to cover in today's tutorial, so I've broken this down into 5 steps. The first is an overview of the end result. We want to see where we're going to end up in the last step. The second thing is we're going to need to understand the plugins that are needed to make this work on your WordPress site. The good news is they are all free. Then we need to understand our image sizes and aspect ratios so we can automate everything in step 4, which is setting up our export presets in Lightroom. Once that's all done, we're going to put this into practice in a real life blog post and show you how it all works. Let's get an overview of where we want to end up in step 5. Notice that there are images that are going to show up over and over on a WordPress site. The banner images that show up on these carousels that most themes have. And then on every theme, there is a featured image that shows up. That's a little teaser of what's to come for that post. So we want to know how to add those and make sure that they're nice and sharp and the correct size. Notice also that I have Instagram integrated onto my WordPress site. So it's always over here on the right hand side. If you click on one of those little thumbnails, it pops you right into Instagram so people can see the image and also follow me on Instagram. It's really cool. The same is true of Twitter. And so on the right, anything I tweet or retweet is going to show up here on the right hand side, which is a really nice little feature. The other thing that we want to look here at is inside of an actual post. So I'm going to go into this reviving the blog post here. Notice we've got videos. We also have images. These images here, notice they have captions on top of those. Those are inside of a gallery. So when I click on that, that expands to a larger image. If I click away, that shrinks down to a smaller image. We've got a standalone image. So here's one of these mountains outside of Mongolia. Notice it's a standalone image, but it has the caption at the bottom. What we want to do is we want to be able to add these captions in Lightroom and bring them over into our WordPress site. So to do all of this, we need some specific WordPress plugins. So let's look at those next. I'm currently using WordPress 4.9.8, and I'm using the Olson theme from CSS Igniter. I've added links to that theme in the description of this video. One thing I need to point out is that I'm using the Gutenberg editor, which is not standard yet. It will be standard in WordPress 5.0, but it's stable enough for me to use right now. And because it's going to be standard, I decided to adopt it for this video, and I think it's spectacular. All right, let's take a look at the plugins that we're going to need to do exactly the things that I'm doing in this video. The nice thing is these are all free plugins, and so they're available to everyone. The 3 that are important, the first one is Twitter. That's how I've integrated my Twitter feed as a widget on my WordPress site. The second is WordPress Instagram widget by Scott Evans. That's how I'm putting the Instagram feed on all of my pages. And then last, something that's really important, search engine optimization. I'm using Yoast SEO. I'm using the premium version, but the free version works just fine for everything we're going to be doing today. If SEO is important to you, and it should be, Yoast is really, really an amazing product. They're not paying me to say that, but I've been using them for a few years, and it's really, really a wonderful thing. Okay, these I have added links to in the description of this video, so you can add those to your WordPress site if you choose. The next thing we need to do is look at image sizes and aspect ratios, because that is a really important deal. So let's take a look at that right now. When you upload images to WordPress, some of those images have to be a very specific aspect ratio. Some of them have to be a very specific pixel dimension, height and width, and then others, it doesn't really matter. The ones that are specific are mandated to us by the theme that we are using. So for example, in this theme, this is the Olson theme, this main slider here has images that are 16 by 9 aspect ratio, 16 by 9 aspect ratio. And so they're widescreen like an HD television. And so if I upload something that's the wrong aspect ratio, it's going to be cropped in a weird way. Or if I upload something that is, let's say, a square instead of a horizontal widescreen, I can have some either white or black space on the sides of this. It's just going to look not very professional. And also a lot of themes will mandate the aspect ratio used for the featured images. Some of them want widescreen landscape images, some of them want square images, some want vertical images. And so it really is up to your theme to determine which images are very specific and which don't matter. So in this theme, all the gallery images that I'm using, it doesn't really matter. I can upload them any size or aspect ratio I want. How do you know for your specific theme? Well, that's one reason that I highly recommend that you get a premium theme that has documentation. So in this theme specifically, in the documentation, I can just go to image sizes and it tells me what the recommended minimum sizes are for each one of the different thumbnails and images and front page images, etc. And so I know. If you get a free theme, a lot of that is just guesswork, and so you don't want that. There are two other images that are very specific that we have to know about, and that is for integrating with Facebook and Twitter. So for example, when I have this image right here, so this is from the USA tour, we've got this nice mountain from the Pacific Northwest. If I zip over to Facebook, I've already copied it. If I paste the link to that post, I'll just paste this into Facebook. Bammo, look, that image shows up. And it's exactly right with the description and everything. So I'm going to show you how that works a little bit later. But the point is, the image that I upload that Facebook is going to use has to be in a very specific size. The same thing is true of Twitter. You'll notice that I have these little thumbnail images here next to these tweets that I've done previously a few days ago, and those match the featured images that I have on my blog. So we're going to get to what those are. But right now we have to know exactly what the image aspect ratio and size is. And so I've done all of the homework for you. So let me show you what I'm using for my theme and what Facebook and Twitter require. These are the theme-based images, the aspect ratios and pixel sizes that I use for my theme. Remember, they're not going to be the exact same for your theme. Make sure you check the documentation. But for the demo today, this is what we'll be using. And you might want to write this down because we're going to be using these numbers in Lightroom when we set up our export presets a little bit later. But in my theme, on the featured image and the banner, I'm using a 1200 pixel wide image on the long edge using a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. 1200 pixels isn't very large, but it loads really quickly, and that's really important for a website. For the gallery and the standalone images, I use 1800 pixels on the long edge, and I just make sure that my ratios are consistent. So if I have a gallery where I have a 16 by 9 aspect ratio for one image, I make sure all of them are 16 by 9. Or if they're 4 by 3, I make sure all of them are 4 by 3. If one of them is square, I make sure all of them are square. So it looks consistent, but it doesn't really matter. And you can have images that are larger than 1800 pixels or smaller. It's up to you based on how fast you want your images to load and what your viewers, what the screen size is for your viewers. The social images, these are the images that we're going to be using for Facebook and Twitter. These have to be exactly this. Facebook and Twitter mandate this. So for Facebook, you have to have a 1200 by 630 pixel image. That's a 12 by 6.3 aspect ratio. It's really wonky. And then Twitter, what we're going to be using for this search engine optimization stuff, we're going to be using an image that is 1024 pixels by 512 pixels. That's a 2:1 aspect ratio. All right, now that we know all of this stuff, we have enough information to jump into Lightroom and start setting up all of our automation. In Lightroom, what we want to do is we want to use export presets to automate all of this stuff. So under the file menu, you have export with presets. Notice that I have all these presets for my website, Mark on a Bike. I've got my featured image, my large photo for galleries and standalone images, and then my Facebook and Twitter image. And so all I have to do is click one button and everything's going to work for me. So what I want to do here is show you how to create these for your own WordPress site. And then we'll put this into practice in our final step. So to do this, what you need to do is go into export. And so once you do that, it's going to bring in all the settings for whatever you have chosen over here on the left-hand side. So what we're going to do is we're going to sort of start from scratch here. And so what we'll do here is I'm going to export this to a hard drive. And where is this going to export? I'm going to choose a specific folder. I want this to go to the same place every time so I can set up a shortcut to get right there. For me, I put this right on my desktop, and I'm going to put this in a subfolder, and I like to name this subfolder temp FB. Temp Facebook, temporary Facebook folder. This is a folder I have on my desktop that I fill up with exports and then just delete it. Every time I do one of these exports, it just recreates that directory for me, and then I know I can just delete it. It doesn't clog up my hard drive, and that's important. That's why we're using these exports instead of published services. Once we have these images on a folder, once we upload them, we're done with them. We can delete them off our hard drive. They're on a server. They're safe. We don't need them anymore. So exporting works better than published services. The next thing we want to do is we want to rename our file. Right now it's going to use the file name, but once we get this to WordPress, we're going to get confused because we're going to have an image that's the featured image that looks the same as the image that's used for our Facebook image, that looks the same for the Twitter image, but they're all different images. So we need to fix that. So we're going to click rename, and what I'll do here is I'm going to click edit. This is going to bring this up. So before file name, I'm going to move my cursor over here, and I'm going to type in featured-16-9, so I know it's a 16 by 9 featured image, dash 1200 pixels, so I know exactly the size this needs to be. It's all good. So I have my aspect ratio and my size, and then my file name. I'll say done. You can see this now will rename this to featured 16 by 9 1200 pixels, and then the name of my image. Let me fix that really quickly. I should have a dash before the file name. Okay, so once I've done that, I've renamed this. Okay, I put it on a folder called Temp Facebook. I'm renaming this. I'm going to make sure this is a JPEG image. The quality, I want this to be about 80. That's up to you, but 80 is a good starting point. The color space sRGB is what we use on the web. That's perfect. We need to resize this. We know it's going to be a 16 by 9 image. We're going to crop this before we export it. So all we have to worry about is the long side, the long edge. So I'm going to resize the long edge, that's the long wide edge, to, remember the image size that we had before, 1200 pixels is what that's going to be. So at 16 by 9, that's going to resize it to 1200 by, I think, 675 pixels. The resolution really doesn't matter at this point. Let's sharpen this for the screen. That's where it's going to live. And we'll do a standard amount. Again, that's up to you. You can make this whatever you want it to be, but I'm going to say that's a standard amount. The metadata, I want to include all of my metadata. The reason for that is I want to make sure I export the title and the caption that I can use in WordPress. I'll show you that a little bit later, but I am going to remove the person info and the location info. I don't want that in there. You can add a watermark. I'm not going to do that. And then I'm going to show this in Finder. So I want a window to pop up and show me exactly where that image is so I can drag and drop it over there into WordPress. It also saves me the step of trying to find where the heck I put this on my hard drive. It's all automated. So now I have all of these parameters set up. What I want to do is create my own little pop down here. So let's say that I'm not using Mark on a Bike. Let's create a fake name called Mark's Demo. So this preset is going to be my featured we'll call it 1200 pixels so we know how wide it is. 16 by 9 featured. So we know exactly what we're exporting here. A 1200 pixel 16 by 9 featured image. And then we're going to put this in a new folder. I'm going to name this Mark's Demo. You can name this whatever your website is. You can have mini folders for different websites. We're going to create that. Click create. And then, okay, that name is already taken, so I can't name it that. And so I'll do this featured do. Okay, boom. So I couldn't use that because I've already used it up here. So there we have it. We have Mark's Demo. It's going to save that. Then I can hit cancel. It's ready to go. Now, what we can do now is I can take this image and I'm going to create a virtual copy because I'm going to be doing some cropping. So I've got my virtual copy here. And then I'm going to go into the develop module, into my crop tool. I'm going to choose 16 by 9, which is already chosen there, which is really nice. Then I'm going to crop this exactly how I want it, position this exactly how I want it, say OK. Then all I have to do is go here and say File, Export with Preset. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go down to Mark's Demo and choose this thing that we just created. Click it. Whammo, it's going to export that. It's in that temp Facebook folder, and it is exactly what we wanted. So what we need to do is we need to duplicate that process for each of our different file sizes. So I'm going to delete that because I don't want that. I've already done that, of course. So over here under, under File, let me zoom out on that. I'll just show you really quickly. I have all of these presets here. So if I click Export, you can see that Mark on a Bike has a 1200 16 by 9 aspect ratio. So it's on the long edge, 1200 pixels, and it's sharpening that to a high amount. All my metadata is exported. My 1800 pixel large is going again to that temp Facebook. I'm not renaming this because these are used once. So it's the actual image. This is 80. It's being resized on the long edge to 1800 pixels, sharpened. I'm including all my metadata. The Facebook image going into that temp Facebook folder, it's being resized to 1200 pixels. And then the last one, the Twitter, is going into that, and it is being resized to 1024 pixels. The question is, why would you have two different 1200 pixel exports? Remember, this one is renaming the file to Facebook SEO. This one is renaming it to featured 16 by 9. This one is renaming it to Twitter. So it helps us keep track of everything. Okay, now that you know how to set up all these export presets, let's dig in. Let's put all this into practice, and let's actually populate this blog with images from Lightroom. Well, this is the post that we're going to be working on. This is an article about how my motorcycle, how bike, became Shifty Drifty. So my bike got a new name, Shifty Drifty. This all happened in Mongolia and Russia. You can see that this is just a bare bones beginning of a post, but it needs now a featured image. It needs the Twitter image. It needs the Facebook image. We need to add a gallery and maybe a standalone image just to show you how all of this works. So I've already gone over into Lightroom and I've created a quick collection of some of the images from Mongolia. That's where I'm going to start. And I've already chosen this image to be the featured image. This is the image I want to show up on the banner of my blog. I want it to show up on Facebook and Twitter. So we're going to be working on this one to begin with. So the first thing I'm going to do with this image, because I'm going to be cropping it and exporting it several times, is I'm going to create a virtual copy. I know I did this before, but I want to make sure you see all of the steps. So I've got this virtual copy. This is what we're going to be working with to export these. Then I can get rid of it. That way I make sure I don't mess up an image that I've already set exactly how I want. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to go into the develop module just to crop this. So the shortcut key is R for crop. I'll do that. This first thing I need to do is the featured image. It's 16 by 9. So I'll choose 16 by 9. There's the image right there. I'll hit enter or return to accept that. File, export with preset, Mark on a Bike, 16 by 9 featured. Bam. So that is going to export that. It looks good. Okay, the second thing that we need to do here is we need to crop this for Facebook. So that is a 12 1200 by 630 image size, which is a 12 by 6.3 aspect ratio. It's a really weird aspect ratio. So to do that, I'm going to hit R for crop. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to enter a custom size. And once you do this once, it's going to remember it. You can see down here, I've already got that in there, but let me just show you how to do this. I'll enter a custom crop size. And what I can do is I can actually add the actual pixel dimensions, and Lightroom's going to do the math to convert it into an aspect ratio. So I will do a 1200 pixel wide by 630 pixel tall image. And notice that it changes that automatically to 12 by 6.3. It's almost a 16 by 9, but not quite exactly. I don't know why Facebook did that, but they did. Okay, I'm going to hit enter to accept that. File, export with preset. This is our Facebook. Bam. So that's going to be exported. Great. Now I've got that. I can close this. The next thing we need to do is we need to crop this for Twitter. So again, R, which is the shortcut key for crop. Twitter is a 1024 by 512 pixel. That's a 2:1 aspect ratio. So again, you can enter that custom aspect ratio, or I can just hit 2:1 because I've already done that. Once again, it's very similar, but not the same. Hit enter or return to accept that. This is Twitter. And so I will export this with my preset. So I'm going to go down here to Twitter. Bammo. It's going to export that. So just like that, we have 3 images ready to go, and they are named nicely. So now what I'm going to do is go back over into my browser, and I'm going to go here to set featured image. It's going to ask me to upload a file. So now I can just go back to Finder where I had that. I'm going to upload all 3 of these at once. It's just going to save us a little bit of time later on, and you'll understand why. So I'll click that. I've got 3 images uploading. 1, 2, 3, bam, bam, bam. Now this is where the renaming of the files is really important. Notice we have 3 images that look the exact same here in our media library. The only way to know which one is which is by the name. So you can see this first one here is the featured image. Click on the second one, that's the Facebook image. Click on the third one, that's the Twitter image. So we're setting the featured image, so I'll select that. Whammo. So now we have our featured image all set. What about that Twitter and Facebook thing? Well, this is where the Yoast plugin comes in handy. So I've already pre-populated these snippets. If you don't know what a snippet is, don't worry about it. You can learn about that later on your own. Go to Yoast, it'll tell you all about it. But what I need to do is I need to add those little images that are going to pop up on Facebook. So I go to this little social button right here, and it's going to show me a Facebook preview. I need an image there. So I can click upload image. I've already uploaded the images, which is really nice. This is the Facebook one. Notice it says Facebook SEO. It's the only way I know which one is which is that custom renaming. So I can select that. So I have that there. Boomo. Now look, it shows me what it's going to look like in Facebook. Then I can go over here to this Twitter metadata. I'm going to upload a different image. So I can upload. I choose the one that is for Twitter. There it is. Select that. Okay, so now I've uploaded 3 images. One is for Twitter, one is for Facebook, one is my featured image. I'll save draft. You can see how these export presets help us really, really quickly update our images. So now that we've got all that done, now we can start adding images to our page. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to go the calm before the storm. Okay, so I need to show some rainbow pictures. So what I'm going to do is I want to use 2 images. So let's do this image. I'll do a standalone image. Now the thing that's really important to note about this is I have entered a caption over here in the caption area. So I've chosen large caption. You can get to this through IPTC as well. It's under description. You can use large description or large caption, I'm sorry, and that allows you to caption that. But this is going to show up in WordPress because remember when we set up our export, we said to export all the metadata. And so we've got that. The other thing that we have here, if I go to IPTC, is we have a title. We can type that into the headline, and we say camping in Mongolia. I'll say that. Okay, so we have a headline, whoops, and we have a description. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to File, Export with Preset, 1800 pixel large photo. That's going to export. It's going to pop up this window. There's my image. Looks great. I'll go over here to this. I'm going to add a new block. I'm going to add an image. So what I'll do is I'll upload. It's going to ask me where. There it is in that little window. Bonk. It's going to load this all in. And look at the caption came right in from Lightroom. So that is a huge time saver. We don't have to type all that stuff in. Once you have it in Lightroom, it'll pop right in. So there you have it. We could go ahead and start adding all kinds of different galleries and all that kind of stuff. In fact, let me just do two really quickly so that you can see exactly how this works. So you can see how the gallery works. We'll go here to large caption just to make sure, yeah, the future looks promising. That's good. And then we'll do rainbow over Lake Mongolia. Okay, so we have these two images. I've selected those. File, export with preset, 1800 large photo. It's going to export that. Then I can go back as soon as these are exported. There they are. So I can go back over here and I can add in a nice little gallery. So we'll do this. Actually, we don't want that. We want a gallery. So we need to change this to gallery. Okay, so I'll upload that. So this image, and this image. There we go. Open. Bammo. Now remember, I said that these aspect ratios should be the same size. They are. Look, it brought in my caption. This one is still loading in. There it is. The future looks promising. Looks great. And you can see how this works. I'm going to save this draft. We'll take a look really fast at a preview. Here it goes. There's our featured image. Here's the calm before the storm. And you can see all of that information from Lightroom came right on in. And it makes this really, really easy and fast to update. There is one thing that you have to do when you are done with your post. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to publish this really fast just so you can see how this works, and then I'll unpublish it until I get it done. So I'm going to publish this. Bam, are you sure you want to publish this? Sure, it's an unfinished post, but I'm going to do that so I can show you the last step. So now I have this URL. I need to do something so that these images that I uploaded to WordPress for Twitter and Facebook, they actually work. Right now, they're not going to work. I need to go over to this page that Facebook created for developers. The link to this page is in the description of this video. This is the Facebook debug tool. I need to enter the URL of the page I just created and click debug. It's going to go and say, hey, this has never been shared on Facebook, which is true. I just created it. So I need to click fetch new information. It's going to go and grab those images. And there it is. The images that I just uploaded, they're the exact size they need to be. And now if anybody shares this link on Facebook, it's going to pop up with the image that I uploaded, and it's going to look wonderful. And there you have it. Facebook integration, Twitter integration, Instagram integration, and a really big turbocharge to Lightroom for your WordPress website. Hey, thanks so much for joining me for this episode of Exploring Photography. Make sure you do a few things. Make sure you click the bell so you get notifications. You can see when we upload videos. It's almost every single day. Also, make sure you check out the description of this video. You can see all of those links. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe right now. Thanks again for joining me. I'm Mark Wallace, and I will see you again next time.